Before we get to the nub of the testimony today, Erin, who is the witness? Give us more details.
Yes, so Snehal Nagar, to rhyme with lager, if that helps us getting used to him and his name, is from the energy division at Eskom, and he's detailed all of the queries he and his team had over the 600 million rand prepayment for coal from Optimum Mine once it was in the hands of Tegeta. Him saying that the pre-leg, as he called it, of what needed to be followed, a 5-step process that Eskom normally undergoes before making payment, wasn't followed in this case, and yet there was this flurry of activity over about an hour and a half on the 13th of April 2016 to ensure that that money landed into an account and made its way to Tegeta.
Where was the pressure coming from?
So we understand that this was all from the central office of the Chief Financial Officer, Anuj Singh. Am I getting this right, Jeremy? Sorry.
Yes, remember, it rhymes with lager. That's what you just told us.
Lager, yes. It sounds like I've had one too, the way I'm saying it. But Naga's saying that it was because of the pressure, because this had come from that central office of Anuj Singh through his assistant, Maya Bana Naidu, who was the relayer of this information, that he went ahead and made sure that he and his team followed this procedure. There, the chairperson of the inquiry, Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, really pressing him on why, if he knew that there was something untoward, he accommodated it and ensured that this payment happened. Him saying, well, it came from one of the very highest offices of within Eskom, and that being the office of CFO, then Anuj Singh. But I think now's an opportune time to bring in our guest, Natasha Mazzone from the DA. You attended a lot of the parliamentary hearings when we heard, for example, from the likes of Singh, and him really not having many answers on what exactly went wrong.
It was a case of, I remember nothing, I can't recall that particular instance. Certainly irritating very much members of the actual committee, and certainly irritating the South African public, because we know that instructions come from the very top. We know that at the time instructions were coming from Anuj Singh as the CFO, and certainly from Mr. Machele Koko, who was the head of generation at the time.
Yes, and Naga actually saying that there was this climate of fear effectively within Eskom, that people were being accused of insubordination and had been fired when they'd raised questions about what was going on within the parastatal. But as a member of the committee, we know that you and your colleagues from various political parties handed over that evidence to the inquiry. Why not sort of spearhead prosecution? Why hand over the baton to the commission?
Well, what we've done as a committee is I've personally laid charges against Anuj Singh, Machele Koko, Brian Malefi, and I did so in my capacity as a Member of Parliament following evidence that was brought before me in the committee. What we've done as a committee is that we've instructed Parliament to act on the information that we have given Parliament itself, and we have requested Parliament to take the unprecedented step of also laying charges on behalf of Parliament, because we have a constitutional mandate of oversight which we have to oversee. But what I can tell you is you are quite right. All our evidence, all our transcripts and everything that was given to us, we handed over very proudly to Judge Zondo.
But isn't handing over passing the buck?
Well, no, certainly not, because we've already laid the charges. The charges are there. So charges that are now being laid, they're being laid by the Eskom board themselves, and they're being laid by various other people, are simply going to supplement affidavits and charges that already exist with the Hawks and the SIU. I'm in regular contact with both units, and I know that these charges are being investigated, and no possible loophole is going to be found for people to get out of things.
You speak there about your engagements with the Hawks and the SIU over investigations. When are we going to see movement? You've spoken about cases. Your report was tabled in November of last year.
Well, I think one of the problems has been the political will to make sure that things are spearheaded fast. I said it last week in a debate of national importance. Our hopes now lie in the new head of the eNCA to make sure that things aren't stalled, and that instructions are never given by a politician, but that instructions are taken by laws and the constitution of our country. But, you know, there's a lot of pieces to pick up. There's a lot of scar tissue revolving state capture, not only in Eskom as we're hearing today, but across the board in different government departments. So we know that things have been deliberately stalled. It's now up to us to make sure that we as politicians spearhead these things going forward and make sure that those that need to be held to account.
But the arguments of the likes of Mr. Koko is that the Guptas are being scapegoated here, and that the problems of Eskom, for example, which persist till today, extend far beyond this family that simply wanted to innovate and, change and diversify the coal supply sector.
Well, it's a very interesting argument that he brings up, and probably because of his close relationship that he enjoyed with the Gupta family. Certainly, if there was nothing to worry about, the Gupta family would be in South Africa accepting their summons and appearing before a court. But they're not. They're in hiding. They refuse to come back to the country. And they're doing everything they can not to have their day in court in South Africa.
Now, it would be remiss of me to let you go without asking about the DA's penchant for billboards and posters. Obviously, we're heading into a national election. And is that really the best way to be spending money when it comes to dealing with problems in South Africa, to be grandstanding over the likes of Life Esidimeni and the loss of lives there? Is that really the best strategy the DA can come up with?
Well, I disagree with you, Erin, that I don't think it's grandstanding. I think it's putting things in the public domain and in the public spectrum. These are things that should never be forgotten. These are gross abuses of public power that we should never forget. And I mean, the fact that our billboards get destroyed as they get put up shows that there is a truth that people don't want going out into the public domain. I think immediately back to the Eskom billboard that went up, it was up and then was burnt down sort of within 12 hours.
So money well spent, you say, but also quickly spent before it gets burned down.
Well, you know what? At least the truth is out there, and the public saw what we had to say, and there is no room to hide when a billboard goes up, and certainly when a billboard comes down, it goes to prove that there is something that people are trying to hide.
Natasha Madzone of the DA, thank you for your time. Jeremy, we go back into testimony with Naga. I got it right that time, this afternoon after 2 o'clock. And he's set to also deal with this question of the estimate on the Glencore penalty around the time it was being strangled out and that Optimum mine in Mpumalanga was in business rescue before Tegeta took over with this rather convenient prepayment from Eskom worth 600 million rand.
All right, Erin Bates, live in Parktown. Thank you. Let me take you to the PIC.